Mic check. Peas and carrots, peas and carrots. Parcheesi. Hi, I'm Ashley Daigle, and this is Advice from the Cheerbrarian. Never heard that word before? That's because I smushed two words together because I felt like it. This week, we're going to do what we always do mix a dollop of advice to improve your life, born from a few of my successes and a boatload of my mistakes, with a book recommendation of the week, unearthed by my voracious love of reading, from self help to historical fiction and everything in between. I've recently begun a fun-sploration wherein I try to find more fun in my daily life. So today I'm excited to do some exploration of fun and hobbies with a co host who's cracked the code on how to find hobbies you really enjoy. If you like what you hear, and I really hope you do, please, pretty please, with two cherries on top, tell two other people about this podcast and send them a link to an episode you enjoyed, because direct word of mouth is huge for a little pod like mine. And now, let's begin. I am delighted to yet again welcome someone into the virtual studio so that I can give my usual unsolicited advice, but this time to a real live human being. So,
Woo!
welcome. Yay. Woo. Already getting a woo. Welcome to Zoe. Hello, Zoe. How are you
Hello,
today?
hello. I'm great. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you. So, if you missed it the first time around, she was on The Power of No Part 3, Say No to Immediately Responding, and famously, in my mind, live on the show, turned off read receipts on her phone.
I did, and
So,
I have not turned them back
I
on.
was gonna ask. Good answer.
They're
Okay,
still
good.
off.
So, I got a few questions before we get started just to
Okay.
whet the appetite. So, Zoe, tell us, what are you reading now, and do you like it?
So I actually just finished a book.
Mm.
And it's one of the best books I've read all year.
Oh.
It's called Homegoing by, I'm gonna butcher her name, but it's Ya Gyasi, I think is
Mhm.
how it's pronounced. And I know you've read this book before because I saw
Yeah.
on Goodreads that you had read it. And it was a beautiful, beautiful book about two sisters who were born in Ghana in the 1700s and just kind of their family lineages over the years. And I just got back from a trip to Africa too, and I got to go to Ghana. So reading the book near the
Wow.
trip was definitely amazing. And the writing is good and the characters are good. And I would just highly recommend it to anybody.
Okay, and that was Homegoing, you said, by Ya
Homegoing by
Gyasi.
Ya Gyasa, Gyasi is the last
Yeah,
name. So
I
I
think I
hope I
have
pronounced
that
that right.
on my
But if
bookshelf.
not,
Mhm.
yeah, everybody should check it out. It was really good.
Awesome. Okay, and then what, if anything, would you like listeners to know about you?
Yeah. Well, I met Ashley when I was in college. I worked for her and it was my first
Mhm.
job and it was very fun.
Mhm,
I live in
mhm.
Denver now with my great husband and my cat, and I work in higher education and I love it. And those are the first few things that came to mind. I said a lot more in my other episode if you want
Yeah.
to listen to
You can
that.
get the full deets previous
Yeah.
episode. Little cliff note there for you. Okay, so today, as I said in the opener, we're talking about hobbies. So why did you wanna come talk about this topic, Zoe? Why is this important to you?
Yeah, I love hobbies. I think it's really
Mhm.
important. For me, work-life balance is super important and I like to have things outside of work to do, even if I'm only, really juggling one or two hobbies at a time. It's just really fulfilling for me to be able to have those outside of work, outside of my relationships, just have things that are just for me.
Yeah. I do wanna say, I heard you say you said, "Even if I'm only juggling 1 or 2 hobbies at a time."
Yes.
1 or 2 hobbies at a time is nothing to dismiss, ma'am,
It's
because
not. It's
we're
not.
gonna talk about my journey to trying to figure out how to do this, and it's tricky. That's why we're
It
talking
is
about it today.
tricky. It is tricky.
And so, yeah, you inspired this episode. I know when we wrapped up the other one, I was like, "Okay, I'm obviously gonna have Zoe back because it was
I'm
great and
so glad I
she's
was a great
fun."
guest.
Yeah. And I was like, "What could she," and I immediately was like, "Hobbies," because this is something that struck me about you because I'm always impressed. Like, I've seen
Mhm,
your presence with some things on social media that you
mhm.
post about. So, what is one of, you said 1 or 2 hobbies at a time. What are some hobbies that are important to you that you feel like you do well, I guess?
Yeah, great question. So I would say definitely reading. I know that's your biggest hobby too. And at this point, I
Mhm.
don't even consider reading a hobby. It's just kind of like ingrained in the fabric of my life. I've been doing it since I was a child. And so I don't even like really consider it a hobby anymore. It's just
Mhm.
something I do.
Yeah.
But I would say my number one hobby right now, and my number one hobby for quite a bit, like over a year now, has been crocheting. I picked it up last summer on a whim, just decided to try it, and I have not put down the crochet hook since.
Nice.
So
Okay,
that
what do
one
you
takes up a
like
lot of my
about it?
yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of things I like about it. One, I like the act of making things. I like to be a creative person, but sometimes it's hard for me to just come up with things on my own. So I like that I can like find a crochet pattern and just sit and make it and really revel in the beautiful thing that I made after I'm done.
Mhm.
I like that I can give my creations away to people. I don't keep most of my creations. They're usually gifts for others.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just me being real. I like that I can sit on my couch and do it for hours, exerting minimal effort and watching some great TV in the background too. If I
Nice.
have to admit it, I love to watch TV. I have so many shows that I love to watch, and this
Mhm.
is just a great vehicle for me to do that.
Nice. Okay. That is a great hobby, and you said you've only been doing it for a year, right? You
Only
just
for a
picked it up?
year, but
Mhm.
I have to say, I've gotten really good at it. And that's okay. So I was telling you a little bit about this early, but it's a
Mhm.
lot easier for me to commit to a hobby if it's something I'm actually good at.
Mm.
It's hard for me to stick with something if I don't do well at it right away, but crochet was something I just kind of naturally picked up, and so it's just been easy for me.
Okay. So that's an important hallmark for you, is it's something that's pretty
Mhm,
pretty easy. Okay.
For me,
So
yeah.
for you, sure. So I was excited to talk to you about this today because I think I'm bad at hobbying. And so I wanted to process, and like it's sort of like, what is a hobby, right? Because
Right.
there's work, and then anything not work is not work. Not that it's leisure time. You have things you have to do for your family and all
Right.
this. So a
Chores, yeah.
hobby, I guess we could define it as like an activity that you do that is not for work, that is part of your leisure time. And the
Mhm,
reason I
mhm.
say I'm bad at hobbying is that I want to use the word concerned, but if I'm honest, it would be obsessed. I'm obsessed with like why I'm doing something. I
Mhm,
need it
mhm.
to matter. And so like when I see people who have hobbies, kind of like what you're talking about with crocheting or painting, I am like genuinely befuddled because I'm like, what do you do with it? Like, what are you gonna do? And you're saying you give it away, so that's
I
something.
do.
But, like, before I've even tried to say, "Let me be a painter," or, like, somebody who is creative in that way, I'm already concerned about the output and what
Yeah.
I'm doing with it, and so I'm always focused on the achievement. Do you find that to be a problem for you, or you're just like, "I'm in it to win it"?
No, I mean, I know you and I have a lot of similarities, so that's
Sure.
definitely an issue. Like, for instance, like I got a set of watercolor paints for
Mhm.
Christmas, and of course, before I even sit down and use them, I'm like, okay, what is the final picture going to be like? When I've literally
Yeah.
never haven't watercolored since I was a kid, I should just be kind of
Mhm.
in exploration mode. So that can be really hard sometimes. But I think crochet has kind of helped me get over that because a lot of things I made at the beginning like were not very good, and I had
Sure.
to learn how to, like they were not things I would want to give away as gifts or even use for myself. And so I kind of just had to look at that as a learning experience, right? But by pushing
Mhm.
through that and, getting to where I am now I'm really proud of everything I make. And I get sad when it's done because it's like that's the fun part is actually making the thing, you know?
Ah, so you have found a way to embrace the process and make the
Yes.
process be fun, not just the output.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
that's the nut I'm trying to crack there. And then
Yeah, it's hard.
this is another thing about why I think I'm bad at hobbying. Here's my dirty secrets about hobbies. You ready?
Okay.
First one is that I have realized, and this maybe I spend too much time thinking about the things I'm doing and should just
Mhm.
go do things and ponder them less.
Right.
But I have realized a lot of the things that I would consider are my hobbies right now, so reading or like fitness, so like running or going to the gym, are all socially acceptable. So then
Mhm.
part
Mhm.
of me is like, okay, wait, do I really like these things because I like them? Or is it that I like the praise that you could receive by being, oh, you read so many books and oh, you can run a race? And like, so part of it, I'm like turning this over in my head, like maybe that's not great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that definitely has something to do with it. It's something we can I mean, I'm not just saying you're like this, but it's something we can
Mhm.
post to our social media and be like, "Hey, look
Yeah.
what I did today," as opposed to, if I'm sitting playing video games all day, I'm probably not going
Mm,
to do that. But you
right.
know what? Video games are still a hobby for me. They're not something I do every day, but every
Mhm.
now and then I like to pick up that controller and play. And I think that is really hard to get out of because we are looking for that external validation. But I think it's really about asking yourself, like, well, what do I enjoy? Not and I mean, obviously, we were saying this earlier, something like reading, that's not something that you're doing for other people, Ashley. We all know that you have an internal
Yeah.
love of reading, right?
True.
But,
True.
like, really kind of examining that and asking yourself, like, "Am I doing this for myself? Or am I doing this for myself wholeheartedly without caring what anybody else thinks? Or am I kinda doing this for
Mm.
myself, but I'm also doing it because I know it looks good. And like,
Right.
I'll be honest, my fitness journey over the years has like
Mhm.
there's some of that that's played into it because yeah, it looks good that I like to run and that I like to do yoga. And
Right.
living here, there's all this added pressure to go out on a hike every
Oh my
weekend, go
gosh, yeah, isn't
camping.
that's like Denver is just everybody's outside all
Yeah,
the time, right?
exactly, and, like, I like to hike, don't get me wrong, I like to be
Mhm.
outdoors, but, like, I wouldn't say that's where I shine as a human being, and so, there have been times when I've been like, "Oh, I should be out hiking this weekend because that's what you do here," but
Mm,
I'm like, "Actually, no, I'd rather stay on my couch and crochet."
there you
So,
go.
it
See,
makes me happy.
you just brought something to the forefront for me because I did a whole episode, way back about how I
Mhm.
wanted less of the S word, less should in my life.
Less
So it
should,
sounds
absolutely.
like that's a big issue with me with these hobbies is that I'm worried about what I should be doing or what I'm supposed to be doing versus like, I recently started playing a video game that I
Mhm.
learned about cozy video games because
Okay,
the
tell me what
people
video game you started playing because I
it's
have to know.
called it's really funny. Okay, you might know why I picked it. It's called The Life of Lana, and
Okay.
my
See, I
dog's
haven't heard of that
my
one.
dog's name is Lana,
Mhm, mhm.
and
I love that.
that's part of why I picked it. And so part of the thing with me in video games, the 2 people in my life, my husband and my kiddo, are they're gamers,
Mhm.
and, like, all the games they play are like right now, my kid's playing Fallout 4, which I don't
Right.
know how many hours that game is. Zoe, I didn't know that short video games was, like, a thing.
They
I
are.
literally
Yeah.
didn't. And so I was talking with another friend and she was like, "Well, yeah, you know about cozy games?" I was like, "No." And so I found this little Life of Lana game and it's about this character who is trying to like find her sister after she's been
Mhm.
taken and it's a side scroll game because I also get nauseous from video games.
Wait, when you say
So
side scroll, do you mean a game kind of like, Mario Super
yes.
Mario where okay,
So
like a
your character and,
platformer,
like,
okay.
I would say you can go, like, back and forth in this one, but it's not like a 360 view, and it's,
Sure.
like, really relaxing, and the music is I was like, "Oh, this is relaxing. I see why people enjoy it." So it's like
Right.
there's this entire category of hobby video games that for a long time I've been like, "Well, that's not for me." What I really meant was it's not for me in the way that they do it, and, like, I also kinda have to force myself to do it because I'm always obsessed
Yeah.
going back to that achievement. I'm like, "Well, you need to be doing things that contribute or matter or whatever, capitalism, I don't know." And so video gaming is like, if I'm doing it, it's truly for enjoyment, for fun in the
Right.
moment.
I was just about to say, but Ashley,
Mhm.
what if these hobbies contribute to your own happiness and peace of mind? I'm at a point in
How
my
dare
life
you?
I'm at a point in my life where like, yes, exercising, things like that. That is important. That's
Mhm.
not just important for our mental health, but our physical health as well.
Right.
However, a hobby for me like crocheting or playing a really cozy video game, which by the way, I have a great recommendation for you. That
Yes.
contributes, that makes me feel like at peace with myself. That
Mm.
helps me come down at the end of the day, helps
Mhm.
me decompress. And I think that is worth it. I think if something helps put you in a better state of mind, as long as it's not like crazy drugs or anything like that, it's like,
Right,
then
legally,
then who is it harming?
that's right.
You playing a cozy video game, sure, it might not be producing anything, but it's not harming anything
It's
either. And it's
producing
producing
happiness.
good feelings.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think
Okay.
maybe think about it from that perspective when you're thinking of
Mm.
a hobby that quote doesn't produce anything or isn't socially acceptable or,
Right.
however you're looking at it.
Yeah. Oof. Okay, so what's your recommendation then? What's your cozy
Okay.
recommendation?
My favorite video game of all time, and when I
Mhm.
say video games are my hobby, I really mean like this game is my hobby. It's
Okay.
called Stardew Valley, and it
I've
is a
heard of it.
it's a
Yeah.
farming simulation, which turned me
Mhm.
off at first because I was like, "Oh, is this like Farmville, like Facebook Farmville or
Mhm.
something?" No,
Mhm.
it is the greatest game ever, but I will warn you, if you start playing it, you might put a lot more hours into it than you anticipated.
Okay.
It's one of
Okay.
those, but that video game, like, came to me at a time in my life when I was feeling, like, really down,
Mhm.
and it was just so soothing and comforting to me, and I still play it to this day, and I look at that and I'm like, no, I'm not producing anything, but like this video game has brought me hours of happiness, and for
Okay.
that I have to give it credit where it's due. So I don't know, maybe try thinking about your hobbies from that perspective.
From that perspective. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll try to have fun and be
Okay.
chill.
Try to
And I
have
think
fun without producing
without
anything.
producing anything, yeah. And then this is my other hobby, confession, Zoe, is
Okay.
that I feel like and this sounds I feel like sounds so full of myself. I feel like I am a fun person.
You are a fun
Okay.
person.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing with me. Okay. And like I create fun for people. I often think of myself as a dance monkey because I'm a person who can like easily be silly and like will
Mhm.
literally dance in public on, with or without music. But where I struggle, my dirty secret is like I struggle to it's probably not a secret. Everybody knows this now from listening to me for 20 minutes, is that I struggle in moments where I feel like I'm supposed to be having fun to really be
Mm.
in the moment and not
Mhm.
be outside of it going like almost asking myself if I'm having fun instead of just
Yeah.
enjoying it. That is difficult for me just to
Yeah.
be
Are you
in it.
talking about, like, when you're by yourself or when you're with others or both? Because when I'm with others, I
Mhm.
definitely feel the struggle is definitely
N
real. I
I
get
feel like more when I mean, when I'm by myself, I'm constantly trying to evaluate what I'm doing at all times, that's a separate problem, but when I'm with I guess I mean sometimes when I'm with other people, like, if I'm at a party sometimes I'm just like, "Is this
Yeah.
fun? Am I having fun? Am I doing fun right?" Like, you
I
know?
think my struggle there is I'm constantly asking myself, especially if I'm the one, like, that arranged it, which I'm usually am because that's just who I
Mhm.
am as a person. I'm constantly like, "Oh my god, is everyone else having fun?" Like,
Yeah.
that's a struggle. I think it's really, really hard to it's hard for me to give advice on that if I'm being completely honest, because I have a
Mhm.
similar struggle as you, just with, "Oh my god, is everybody else having fun?" When I'm by myself, sometimes I just have to, like, let myself get in that flow state, and it's hard. But
Right.
if it's something I really, really enjoy doing, like crocheting, for instance, I can let
Mhm.
myself do it.
Okay. So, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe if somebody listening has tips on how not
Yes,
to
let
worry
us
as
know.
much if other people are having fun, that would be great, for both of us because, yeah, same
As
situation.
these people pleasers in us,
That's right.
gotta squash
That's
them.
right. Maybe it's about, like, turning off that negative brain, telling our negative thought, like, "Hey, you know what? Like, I said I think I'm fun. You said you think I'm fun. I
Yeah,
think you're fun. Therefore,
I think I'm
we
fun.
we're fun." And so when
Right,
our voice is like, "Are people having fun?" You're just like, remember how you're fun? You're fun."
right, exactly,
Just sort
exactly,
of pushing it away. Pushing it away.
exactly. Yeah. No, I totally get it though, totally get that.
Mhm, mhm. Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a book I know
Okay.
that I have been reading, and I know we read her other book. So this is The Power of Fun, full
Yes.
title, The Power of Fun: How to Feel Alive
Wait,
Again
I did
by
not put
Catherine
it
Price.
together that it's the same
You
author of How to
didn't?
Break Up with Your Phone. No,
Yeah.
I just got that.
It's amazing.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
no,
wow, wow.
so Zoe and I both together read How to Break Up with Your Phone and kinda did that process together, which I think we'll talk about maybe on another episode. I think I wanna do
Sure.
a recap of that. But yeah, so she wrote The Power of Fun: How to Feel Alive Again. And so I need to say that, y is it fun reading this book? Um, well, it feels I don't wanna say rock bottom because that's dramatic, but it feels like the fact that I feel pulled to read a book on how to have fun, like, it doesn't feel great.
Especially since you were already, like, a very fun
Becau
person. You're
yeah,
not just, like, a Debbie Downer sitting at her house all the time that's like, "Man, I really need to learn how to have fun."
right, yeah, so I don't know what that means for me that I am reading a book about it. It's just I guess I'm always trying to improve and learn, and part of this podcast is me trying to read stuff so
Mhm.
you don't have to and I can tell people about it.
Well, yeah,
But
my
here's
question was oh,
yeah.
yeah, my question was going to be, does her idea of fun and your idea of fun, like, are they the same? Like, or are they different?
Oh. Oh, so I should evaluate it and not just do what this book tells me, Zoe? Interesting, interesting. I think so, so far. When I wanted to read this part at the beginning is interesting. So this is
Okay.
I don't know who Michael Lewis is, but she has a quote by him at the front that says, "If you get in the habit of your life being fun, if you move through life believing it's supposed to be that way, you'll notice when it's not. I've been
Mm,
making life fun for so long, I can't imagine putting up with no fun. But the inverse is true too. If you get in the habit of life not being fun, you start to not even notice because that's what you're used to." And I was like,
mhm.
oof,
Whoa,
oof
that's
them.
true.
So that's kind of what she started with. And so she was inspired to do this. So she talks about at the beginning of the book that they were remodeling their home for a while. They were
Mhm,
remodeling the
mhm,
kitchen and she was pregnant, I think with her first kid. And so she's picking out like lamps and knobs for things and all this stuff. And then she had her baby, the renovation's done, and she
mhm,
was like holding the baby. And then she noticed her phone reflecting off the face of her beautiful baby as she was looking for, antique, door handles or something that she didn't need to be doing because they were no longer remodeling her house.
mhm,
But, like,
mhm.
that had become such habit to her, this, like, scrolling
Mm,
and searching for
mhm.
inputs and all this, and so that was when she sort of and so I think that was what began her journey about trying to do something with her phone, but also fun because she had another
Yeah.
moment where, like, I think the kid was asleep, her husband was gone, she had, like, an hour and a half, and she was like, "I literally don't know what to do with myself."
Yeah, yeah.
And I find that sometimes too, like, my family, like I said, if they're, maybe the 2 of them are off doing a video game, and as I said, I will get nauseous because video games make me nauseous to watch sometimes,
Mhm, mhm,
and I'm just like,
mhm.
"Oh, I could do whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know what
but
to
then it's like,
do."
what do you well, yeah, you could do anything in the world and, like, nothing yeah, you're like, "I don't know."
I don't know, I don't know.
Been there
So
all the time.
Yeah. And I think, obviously I'm not the only one with this problem because Catherine Price wrote this book. And as I was researching about it, she's gone on a bajillion podcasts and done lots of interviews because other people are all struggling as adults to figure out how do I have fun. And so I thought this tied nicely into the hobby conversation.
It does, yeah.
Um, going back to the direness of it, one thing I love about it, she doesn't play around. Chapter 2 of this book is just titled Why You Feel Dead Inside.
Oh, don't we all?
I mean, and then she also starts. So she's got Why You Feel Dead Inside, and then she has in the beginning of that chapter is Everyone Dies. So she talks
Oh,
about I know, she's just coming hard for you.
sad.
I know, but her point is, like, you have but one life, you should
Mhm,
find ways to make it fun, and so to go back to your question about does what I say or does what she says resonate with me? The answer is yes, and it's interesting
okay.
because I think it sort of resonated in with what you talked about with crocheting. So, what she talks about, she distinguishes between fake fun and true
Mm,
fun.
mhm,
So fake
mhm,
fun is, activities, products, or services that are marketed to us as fun, but they don't actually result in true fun, often things that are passive consumption. So
mm,
watching television, looking at social media, stuff like that is like you're sitting there, or even like going to see a movie or going to a concert. Like those things can be fun, but maybe it isn't, and you're just kind of buying into the thing that it's supposed to
mm,
be
mhm,
fun.
mhm,
And then she centers true fun as the what's it called? Like Venn diagram of playfulness, connection, and flow.
mm, mhm.
And so when you talked about crocheting, like it's a thing that when you're crocheting, you're by yourself most of the time, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll do it when Greg's sitting around, but it's a
Sure.
solo
You're not
activity.
you're not like, "Greg, leave the room. I'm
Yeah.
crocheting.
I'm crocheting, you have to go.
You
No, no,
have to
no,
get out
yeah,
of here."
but alternatively, he's not helping me with it. It's something I do,
Mhm.
like, it's a one-person activity, yeah.
Right. But where it struck me with the playfulness, connection, and flow. So, like, the kind of things that you're making, are they all, like, very stark, dark, boring sweaters? Or you,
No,
like,
they're
making
fun.
would you say they're playful, perhaps?
Some of them, yes.
Some of them? What's something you made I'm curious. What's something you made that you would say was playful?
So, okay, well, actually, a project I've been working on like
Mhm.
slowly throughout the year is I have this book. It's called the Granny Square Source Book, and it's a
Oh.
hundred different granny squares, which is just a square that you work inside out.
Mhm.
And so I've been working my way through all 100 of those, and there are many playful ones in there, and it's really fun, and it's also just like okay, I'm just making this one square, and then the
Mhm.
next one. It's not like a huge project or anything. So I
Gotcha.
would say that that's been very playful because I've learned new techniques and things like that, then it's just been a
Mhm.
fun project.
Right. And I think you said the word flow when you were talking
Mhm.
about it
Yes.
earlier, when you were like, I get in the flow, like you kind of get in the zone, like time passes by and you're crocheting and you've got your shows on and you're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
enjoying
yeah.
yourself. And then for me, the connection comes in, not necessarily that like when you're making it, but also because it's a hobby that you said you share with other people, right?
Mhm.
It connects you. It's not like you sit by yourself in a room, you make this by yourself, you put it in a box and no one ever knows about it, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I like to show it off. I'll post it on my
Hmm.
Instagram. I'll send something to a friend if I make it. Yeah, and it's
Hmm.
really interesting. I really like those 3 points, and it kind of reminds me of something that I've been thinking about, which is like consuming versus creating. And I don't think
Yes.
every hobby has to be creative, and I
Hmm.
don't think consuming is always bad. Like you mentioned concerts
Correct.
earlier. Like I'm a huge concert goer. I love to go to concerts, but
Hmm.
then that always inspires me to want to make my own music.
Right.
And I do think like when it comes to hobbies, there is a difference between a hobby where you are consuming something and where
Mhm.
you are creating something. And like I
Right.
said, it doesn't always have to be like art creativity. Like I think you going to a workout class is, kind of loosely could be you're creating something, you're creating a moment, you're creating energy, you're
Ooh,
creating,
I love you're
you're
creating a
creating
moment.
you're kind of creating
Yeah.
your body almost like if you want to look
Mhm.
at it that way. as
Yeah.
opposed to just watching something on the TV. And so,
Right.
don't get me wrong, I still watch a lot on the TV, especially while I'm
Mhm.
crocheting, but I
Yeah.
really have been trying to lately be like, okay, is this something where I'm consuming something somebody else has made, or am I creating my own moment, my own thing here?
Mhm.
And I feel a lot more fulfilled when it's something that I'm creating, you know?
Yeah. I
So
love
I
that
don't
the
know
creating
if
a moment or, like, creating a
right.
memory, right?
Creating a
Like,
memory, yeah.
those things are
Exactly.
important
You
as
won't
well.
remember probably that time you binge watched TV, but you'll remember the classes you went to and the things you did, and,
Mhm.
I think that's really important too, and I do get
Right.
more fulfillment out of that.
Right. And I wanted to say too, like, I don't wanna we're not gonna bag on watching TV and watching movies
Hell
because
no,
those
we're
are
not.
enjoyable. Zoe's like, "Absolutely not on Zoe's watch." But there are ways that you can like so right now, we are trying to watch the last season of and I love Star Trek, you know this.
Mhm.
We're
Yes,
trying to
live
watch
long and conquer.
Discovery and do what'd you say?
I said live long and conquer.
It's Live Long and Prosper.
Live long and prosper. Oh my god, please don't take that out. I was like, I
I
know
will
something
not.
sounds wrong about this.
Live
Conquer, I
long
don't
and
know if I
conquer.
like
No, that would
that.
be so if the Klingons, theirs would be you don't know what that means. Anyway,
I do
prosper.
know it's a Star Trek thing.
It is a Star Trek thing. Live long and prosper, Vulcans, it's a whole thing. Okay. Anyway, sidetracked. So we are trying to watch the last season of Discovery, and
Okay.
after watching one episode, the second episode last night, I think I'm gonna tell Albert, like, "You finish it out," because I'm doing this out of spite, and I don't like it, and it's making
You're
me
like,
mad.
hate watching it?
I'm a little bit, and, like, that can be fun. Hate watching
It
can be
can.
fun, but there's this line, right? Like, if you're watching a show and you really enjoy it, then that's great, but if it's just, like, passively on because it's
Yeah,
on, like, maybe you can back away, like and I know,
totally.
there are ways to make TV connective as well, like, we are big fans of Love Is Blind,
Yes,
and
we are.
I would never go for me, I would not sit and watch Love Is Blind by myself and be like, that's satisfying." The only reason I watch Love Is Blind is because I text you and I think 3 other people actively while I'm watching it, and we make it connective, and
Of
it is
course.
playful, I would say,
It's
honestly,
very
and
playful.
thinking of something that's fun, like, yes, watching Love Is Blind and texting my friends, I would say that is true fun. I am in the flow. Well,
It's so
sometimes it
fun.
drags on. Sometimes it drags on.
Right, but
It
when
feels
we're
like
texting our thoughts, you are in the flow there.
Zoe's like, "I'm just trying to cook dinner over here." Ashley's
No, no,
like
no, I'm in the flow too, and yeah, that's the thing is I agree, like, the half the fun of watching those types of shows is being able to text your friends about them and be like, "Oh my god, did you see this?" And I do think there's something to that. That's how we connect, that's how
Mhm,
we have fun with each other, like,
exactly.
it's I mean, there's not a moment where I'm talking about Love Is Blind with a friend that I'm not having fun, Ashley.
That's true. So, yeah, so if you're like, I watch a lot of TV, is there a way to make that
Mhm,
more fun?" That's a way that I would do. Find a community of people you can comment on and talk about it.
mhm.
So getting back to Miss Price's book here. So,
Yes.
so we talked about the true fun, playfulness, connection, and flow, which makes sense to me. And then one other exercise I wanted to talk about with you from the book is that in the beginning, she prompts you to try to come up with a past fun experience that you had and so she
Mhm.
tries to get you to do 3, so you can, like, identify 3 things you did, and it can be from childhood up to present, where you remember that was, like, a core memory, you remember you had a lot of fun,
Mm,
and
mhm.
then you kinda look at, okay, what are the similarities between these activities, and then maybe try to spiral into some other things you could try.
Yeah, yeah.
So you talked about crocheting as like a hobby, but can you think
Mhm,
of a time that you just had like that you would say, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun," tying it into
mm.
something that was playful, connective, something where you felt like you were in flow?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I feel
All
like
the
I have those
time.
moments all the time.
Mm,
However, like, I will say the most recent one, I went to a
mhm.
concert on Sunday night with Greg. We went and saw Casey Musgraves,
Oh,
and
okay.
man, we just had a good time. We were just, like, dancing and,
Mhm.
like, hugging, like, putting our arms around each other the whole night and just, like,
Yeah.
really enjoying the vibe. That's the
Mhm.
first moment that pops into my mind. That was 2 days ago. I
Nice.
try to make my life pretty fun,
Yeah.
Ashley.
That's why you're on this podcast today, Zoe. You're helping me and everybody else embrace it. Well, and that's great. And see, it's interesting you talk about music, and I sort of like I don't think I like poo-pooed it earlier, but I
No, no, no,
decided
you did not.
but I will say I've sort of decided, like, I've done some concerts. I went to see Alanis when she did her 25th
Oh,
anniversary tour with
yes.
friends, which was amazing. But, like, other than special things, I sort of have said, "You know what? In general, concerts, not my thing." I kinda have
Interesting, okay.
decided it's a thing that is generally fun for a lot of people, but, like,
Mhm.
it's gotta be something special for me,
Yeah, and
you know?
not it's not for everybody, you know?
No.
I know people like that who, like, I mean, for me, if I could go to a concert every night, I would. For some
Mm,
people, they're like, "I don't really need to do that." And I think
right.
that's the thing too, is just like, yeah, going back to, are you doing this for people's approval? See, that's a thing that,
Mhm.
you could just go to concerts all the time to be like, "Oh, look at this concert I went to." But
Right.
you don't, because you realize it's
Yeah.
not really your thing. And
No.
so it kinda goes back to that too.
Exactly. So the one I wanted to share, I came up with a few, but the one I wanted to share that I thought was most interesting was I had a lot of fun on a Zoom paint party for work, which
Okay.
which virtual work events already you're like, is this going to be fun? Is this forced
Right.
fun? And it was one of these like there was a painting teacher, kind of like if you go
Mhm.
in person, it's like a painting with a twist. And I'm
Mhm.
not a painter. I do have some painted things in my home that I did that are not good from these classes. But like I was not anticipating it was going to be that fun. And when I tell you, I could not stop laughing. Like I started doing it, I realized I had my easel the wrong way. Like 10 minutes in, my paintbrush completely broke.
Oh, no.
And mine but again, I couldn't stop laughing. And, I had such a good time doing that, that I was like, "Oh, maybe I like to paint." And so I bought some paint stuff that is
Mhm.
now collecting dust over in the corner. And I think that's because when I actually look at what was fun about it, well, it was the playfulness, right? It
Right.
was it was that there was a teacher there, so there was connectiveness, there were coworkers that I knew, we were kinda goofing around.
Mhm.
But it was like honestly, what was fun about it for me was, like, being hilariously bad at it and, like, a
Right.
comedy of errors. So I don't know how to duplicate that exactly, but, like, for me, I don't think painting by myself is gonna be it, but maybe I can find I'm coming up with this idea like, I'm sure there's probably paint classes I could take, right?
Yeah, it sounds like
Maybe
the
I would like
class
that.
element was what you liked, and, I've
Mhm,
actually thought about that because for me, I love anything arts and crafts, like, anything like that. So I've even thought about, like, how fun would it be to, like, take a different class, like, for a
mhm,
different medium each month and just kinda try it, because I
yeah,
enjoy taking classes too. It's a lot more fun for me to do this with other people than to put on a YouTube tutorial in the background and do it myself,
right.
so that's definitely an idea.
Okay, so I wanna get us into the real, stack of pancakes.
Okay.
So we wanna talk about how to hobby, what do you do? So Zoe, if I'm a person and I feel like I have no hobbies, I am struggling to find fun, where
Mhm.
should they start? What do they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say start with something small. And what I mean by that is a lot of people feel like, okay, I'm going to do painting now. So I have to go out and buy all the materials and do all the things.
Mhm.
And when I say someone, I mean me because I've done this before. Probably more, I mean, honestly, more than once. I've bought painting materials thinking I was going to use them.
Right.
So maybe like finding a hobby that's like has an easy barrier, like low barrier to entry. So like
Mhm.
reading is a good one. I don't know, going for a walk, doing yoga. I don't know. There's a lot of different things out there. So
Mhm.
maybe finding it, because I think sometimes getting started is the hardest part. If you think you
Yeah.
have to buy all these things or commit to all this stuff, like who wants to do that? So finding something that you're interested in that has a low barrier to entry. And I think also just sticking with it for a little bit. Like it would have been easy for me to put away my crochet stuff after one day doing it, but I'm so freaking glad I stuck with it because I can't imagine my life without it now. So I usually try to stick with something for like at least a few weeks before I move on to something else, unless you just really hate it. But if it's something I think that you can see yourself doing and you enjoy it, even if you're not good at it, which I tell that to
Mhm.
myself because if I'm not good at something, I like to immediately abandon that thing. But
Love it.
really sticking with it, I think getting past that hump can be really helpful. But I think that low barrier to entry is key.
Got it.
Sometimes getting into hobbies can be really intimidating.
Mhm. Well, and like with anything, like if I think about my journey to enjoying fitness stuff, it
Hmm.
was only through trial and error that I found things
Hmm.
I liked. So
Yeah.
it might be that the first thing you try isn't
Yeah.
going to really be for you, but maybe you go to a class or you pick up a book about something and it leads you to something else. So Zoe's point about, try somewhere, start small, low barrier to entry.
Hmm.
Not that you need a book to read it, but the library is actually a
It's
great
free.
place to begin because you can get books on things, right? So maybe you can go,
Right.
and if you wanted to like try painting or some sort of creative thing, there'd be plenty of books there. So that's good stuff.
And the library also oftentimes has free or very cheap classes. I would
Mm,
say, like,
yeah,
if
true.
it's something you're really interested in and you can find a cheap class to go to, like,
Hmm.
that can oftentimes just, like, kind of give you a head start because you have somebody there, like you said, with the painting telling you what to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the library is a great resource. Reddit is a great resource. There's a subreddit for literally everything out there.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
honestly, kind of the process of finding a hobby can be fun, I think.
Oh, that's people are like, "What's your hobby?" My hobby is looking for a
Is
hobby.
finding
Give
a
me my new
hobby.
hobby. So those are all great tips. Some other ones I wanna throw in. So number 1, you can do the exercise that I talked about from Catherine
Yes.
Price's book. Spend she said 60 minutes. I was like, "Lady, that seems like a long time." But spend however many minutes coming up with 3 activities 3 times in your life that you remember really having fun. And it can be something by yourself, it can be something with people, it can be when you were a kid, whatever it is, follow that story to figure out what are the things that you like, what are the characteristics. So just try something, like Zoe said. You can also ask for help. If you really don't know where to begin, ask a friend or family member, somebody that knows you, and just be like, hey, maybe a weird question. I'm looking for a new hobby. What do you think I might like? You never know where it's gonna lead, you know? It
Yep.
doesn't hurt to do that. And leave no stone unturned because, like, for example, if you had told me even 3 years ago that I would be a member of and even enjoy participating in a run club, Zoe, I would have told you that that was bonkers. And, you know, there you
And
go.
now look at you.
And look at me in a club of runners. And then my last little bit of advice about this is when you're trying to find a hobby, you might need to quit. You might
Yeah.
don't do a thing, let me be your cautionary tale. Don't do things only because you think they're gonna sound good or look good and then realize, like, it's not fun. If you don't
Mhm.
like it, quit it. And like
Right.
we've said a million times, but I'm gonna repeat it so maybe it'll actually sink into my brain. Remember that you don't have to be good at it because I just said how much fun I had being bad at something.
Right.
So maybe I should go be bad at more things. And maybe my hobby could just be trying things and being
And being
terrible at
bad at
them
them and then moving on to the next
and
one.
moving on to the next one. Wouldn't that be great? So I'm going to make a commitment on this podcast right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
My commitment to you listeners and to you Zoe is that I'm going to keep reading this book cuz she's got a lot of good stuff in here. I'm going to keep reading it. And then later on, Zoe, I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to talk more about this book and I'm going to share as I do in this podcast my whatever successes and
Mhm.
failures I have around trying to hobby better and around trying to have more fun.
I love it. I
That's
love it. That's a
my
great
solemn vow.
commitment.
Wonderful. Well, we're not letting Zoe get out of here without a book recommendation.
Ugh, I'm so
So we're
ready.
gonna do that. I will tell y'all, I for the last episode, I already pre-picked the book and I didn't do it this time. So am I gonna find one? Is this gonna be a disaster? Listen, we'll find out together. Okay.
I love it.
So is there any genre that like are you wanting something for spooky season? Like,
Yeah,
where's
maybe
your head
like
at?
a thriller or something fun for spooky season. I like that
Something
idea.
fun for spooky season. Now I've told on myself, okay,
You know
have
I
you
love a good thriller. Like
I'm scrolling
literally.
I'm scrolling through my read. I'm like, have you heard of a book? It's called Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Have you
I
heard of
haven't.
it?
I've read it, and it's actually one of my favorite classics, I have to admit.
Is it? Okay. Let's
Mhm.
see. Thriller, 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 thriller. And do you want a female protagonist, a male
I
protagonist?
usually prefer a female protagonist, but I won't say no to a male.
Okay. And you've read Ruth Ware, right?
Some of her books, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. I found a list of books. Let's see. Ooh, have you read Gillian? Is it Gillian or Gillian Flynn?
I don't know how you say her name, but I have literally devoured everything she's ever written. And in
Cool. That's
fact,
super
I
helpful.
remember reading Gone Girl for the first time and then giving it to you immediately and being like, "Oh my god, you need to read this
Wait, you
book."
gave it to me to read it?
Yep,
Now I'm
I
trying to tell
read it.
you to
I
read
read
it.
it when I was working for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we've maybe read too many
I've
books,
read too many
too many of the
books.
same books. What about so if you read Gillian Flynn, have you read all of Leanne Moriarty?
Almost all of Leanne Moriarty. There's like maybe a couple by her that I have not
Okay. Oh my
read.
gosh, this segment is going downhill fast. It's like I've forgotten. And you've read Tana French.
Some, yes.
Did you read
I've read the first 3 of the Dublin
Dublin
Murder
Murder Squad?
Squad, yeah.
Okay. Have you read her standalone books?
I have not, no.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you
We
might be
might do
onto
one of
something
those.
here.
Okay. Thank God. I'm sweating in this chair. Okay. Let me see. So let's see. Okay. So Dublin Murder Squad. Okay. Here's the one you need. It is called, the
Okay, I'm writing it down.
other one is called The Searcher. And
Okay.
I thought it was a standalone, but now it's a new one. So this is a retired detective moves to a remote village in rural Ireland. His
Okay.
plans are to fix up the cottage he's bought and put his police instincts to bed forever. However, someone goes missing and he is tapped to help.
Okay. Some
And it's a less
old
of a
curmudgeon cop doesn't wanna be a cop and
and
has
he
to
of
be a cop
course
again.
and of course he has his own backstory and his own
Of
history
course.
and demons he's wrestling with. And that one has less of a barrier to entry than the Murder Squad, because that one, it's all built in the same world and there's like
Right,
five or
right.
six of them. This one, that one, The Searcher came out in 2020, and then
Okay.
she just came out with a sequel for it like this
Okay.
year.
It's only 2 books.
There you
Okay,
go.
I'll
Oh my
have
gosh, I
I
got it
did
done.
really love the ones that I read from Dublin Murder Squad, like, they
Mhm.
were right up my alley.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think these will be good. I can't wait to
Awesome.
read them.
Wonderful. Thank goodness we got there. I was
We did.
literally and metaphorically sweating. So once again, Zoe, thank you so much for your time today. This has
Thank
been a
you.
delight, and I look forward to finding more fun in my life and maybe trying crocheting. Maybe.
You just say the word, and I will tell you everything you need to know. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. Zoe and I had a lot of fun talking about hobbies today. But if you are looking for more inspiration on the topic of how to have fun, here are some Cheerbrarian approved books you can check out. So I talked on the front end about Catherine Price's book, which is titled bum, ba, da, ba, The Power of Fun, How to Feel Alive Again. And I wanted to just sort of talk a little bit about the structure of the book, because if you are looking to embrace more fun, I think this is a great place to start. So this book is structured similarly to her book on how to break up with your phone. So the first third is basically the why behind, like, why is fun important? Why you should give her ideas a try, and really like validating sort of the concepts that she has come up with. And then the back two thirds is her how to have fun section. So that's where she has you do a fun audit and do a fun journal. She does say specifically, like, promise fun audit is going to be more fun than it sounds, which I haven't done those activities yet. So I cannot speak to that. And it's still a work in progress for me. But if you, like me, love homework, finding ways to have homework in life, and love like a how to guide for something you're looking to improve, then I think she is really good at that. And this book might be for you. But I couldn't get out of this episode talking about hobbies and fun without giving you just a purely fun book to read. This is one of my favorite series, and I cannot believe I haven't talked about it already. But the book you should go get right now, immediately, if you are looking for some fun, is Thursday Murder Club series. The first book is called The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Y'all, this book is so good. The series is so great that I cannot wait to go to England and visit with these characters, because they are obviously very real people that are alive, not just fictional, because he has created such a rich cast. So imagine it's like this Murder She Wrote esque kind of situation where you've got some, older person who is solving crimes, except there are four of them and they are friends and they live in a retirement community. One of them is a retired, like, MI6 agent. One of them is like a sweet grandmotherly type. We have one who's like a cantankerous working class guy, and we have one who is a retired psychologist. So they are unlikely friends thrown together. And of course, they have run-ins with the police as they're trying to solve crimes, and the police are like, "Please stop." And they're like, "Sure, we will stop," but they don't. And it is just the most fun I've had in a while. So that is Thursday Murder Club with Richard Osman, and you should go get it to have some fun reading in your life. Today's episode, I love a little recap because life is busy and I want you to have something to take with you. So what the heck did we do today? In today's episode, Zoe and I talked about finding hobbies you enjoy and learning to embrace fun. If you're in the market for a new hobby, start small and don't be afraid to be bad at it or even quit if you aren't having any fun. And remember to embrace the journey and don't just worry about the output or social media likes that you can garner with a hobby. Creating a moment for yourself is a worthy achievement. Zoe said she is really enjoying the book Homecoming by Ya Gyasi, and you should check it out. For Zoe, I recommended the thriller The Searcher by Tana French. And an unrequired reading, I recommended The Power of Fun, How to Feel Alive Again by Catherine Price. when you are trying to find more fun. And if you just want to have some good old fashioned book reading fun, you should check out the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osmond. And please follow and review wherever you pod and join the Cheerberry on Instagram or Facebook by following me at the @Cheerberrian handle. That's where you can see resource links and other goodies and talk to me, which I would love. Now go on, get out of here. Go fly a kite. Drink more water. Okay, bye.